All right, everybody, and welcome back to the 11th episode of the Planet Film podcast. And as you can tell, for today, things are a little bit different here. Got a little bit of a different layout here with three people. Today, as you can see, we are having our friend Brandon join us. So it's kind of the inaugural guest episode of Planet Film. We have, like me and TJ have talked about many times, we both I still work. He used to work at the movie theater, so we have a lot of movie loving friends that we're gonna try and bring on. More guests. Who knows? Maybe even eventually we'll work up to getting celebrity interviews in here. Let's go. Aim high, Willis. Aim high. Uh, and So the other thing is the actual visual look is a little bit different because we previously we had been doing the show on StreamYard every single week. We're still going to be using that for some things, like we talked about on Planet Council this week. TJ's not going to be on Planet Council this upcoming episode. And I did tease that maybe I was working on something to kind of fill in that gap. I think I am going to be able to do an episode. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a kind of main co-host. One of our other friends, Donald, is going to be joining me to do that show. And then we're going to have some other people call in, just some people that I know, just to get other people's opinions on, their first Star Wars memory and what Star Wars means to them and what they love about Star Wars. So that'll be very, very cool as long as, I'm able to get that together. But now we're going ahead and we're going to try and do the show from now on OBS through Discord, just because hopefully you guys can tell already the camera quality on here is much, much better.
It looks like garbage, but on StreamYard it looks... I said mine still looks like garbage, but on StreamYard it looks even worse than it actually is, in my opinion. So,
well, it's whatever. Yeah, I mean... And also, the StreamYard, I kind of, if this episode goes up late, we have had a lot of technical difficulties today, trying to get all this up and running. But
some
I think
some Taco Bell difficulties.
Yeah, you know what? Why don't we just launch right into that, Brandon? What has your day with Taco Bell been like so far? Just run us through that story real quick.
All right, really quick. So today I was just feeling a little bit of Mexican food. My wife loves Mexican food, so I prefer Taco Bell over the local Mighty Taco restaurant chain because there are a lot more variety of options. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to be around and about today, so I'll grab some Taco Bell while I'm out. And so I had ordered using the app. And when I got there around 6 p.m., they told me to drive around to the parking lot and wait for my food there, where I proceeded to wait 45 minutes until I finally had the nerve to go back through the drive-thru, tell them that I'd been waiting for 45 minutes, and they said they had given out my food to someone else. And I said, you probably thought you were giving it out to me because I came by 45 minutes earlier, and you never came out and you forgot about me. And then I proceeded to go back around, and they told me to wait in the parking lot again, and I did. And they proceeded to wait another 20 minutes before they ever got me my food. So
I would have left.
I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have not gotten Taco Bell.
Yeah, see,
that's what I would have done.
It was just something that I wanted today. So
I don't doubt it.
We all have those cravings.
Yeah, to be fair, they still had all of the menu items that were supposedly going to be taken off, so that was a little bit of both. So
good.
I got to have.
They charge you?
Yeah, they charged me. Didn't offer any reimbursement, so I
wow,
a lengthy report about my experience. So
nice.
Oh yeah,
I'll be receiving an email from them some in the near future.
Nice. That's
ridiculous.
Yeah,
the customer is always right. Not really, but
customer service was pretty poor. And they asked me every single time I drove up there, like if it was like three of the like beef burritos, and I was like, no. And they were like, that's the only brand and order we have. And I was like,
well, that's not me.
And I was like, so let me get this right. You're like checking on my order, but apparently you gave my order out to someone else. Did you check with them? Because like if they had ordered 3 beef burritos, like you would be a little bit, and you saw 2 names with Brandon on there, you would think that maybe they'd be a little bit more thorough in checking that these people had the right order. So the person that wanted 3 beef burritos ended up getting like a family's worth of food. So
nice.
it was a frustrating experience. To say the
Stellar
least.
stellar customer service
I
experience.
come home and we were having issues with OBS, so that was just
Oh yeah.
but
It's
time to rock
fantastic.
on.
So in a little bit of better news, for those diligent listeners of the podcast, TJ has been working on somewhat of a personal project, somewhat of a personal goal in the video game space.
Is it?
A goal that he finally completed, which I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to him, and he's going to take the reins here with a little bit of a mini review. I don't know if he's going to do spoilers or what, but no spoilers.
Because you
All right,
guys,
well,
do you want to play the game?
I like to
yeah, just for
eventually.
listeners. I mean,
Okay,
if you want to do, I mean, really,
I don't want to spoil it.
yeah, just don't do any spoilers. That's fine.
All right. So remember about, I don't know, 4 weeks ago when I was like, yeah, I'm playing it, and it's like,
Oh, do you want to say what it is?
Like, yeah, Last of Us Part 2. Sorry. When I started, you know, when did it come out? Last month. When I first started it, I've been kind of playing it in like small increments, just like kind of wherever I had time. This past weekend, I just kind of like binged it and like finished it in 2 nights. So I probably played like 5-6 hours at a time just to finish it. Definitely a longer game than I would have liked. You know, I think it's got to be around 20-25 hours. Just like there's no multiplayer, which I know Brandon was very upset about. Brandon, big fan of The Last of Us multiplayer.
Amazing with multiplayer.
But I kind of I turned my tune on it, honestly. The second half, it really there's definitely like some bold choices they make with the story, and I mean, there's some things where I was like, oh, I don't know if that character would have done that. But, you know, again, it's like not I'm playing their story. Like they're telling me a story. It's not up to me like what the decisions the characters make. And that's just one of the things I like didn't get about like all the hate with this game is that people were like, well, that's not what was supposed to happen. It's like, okay, well, you know, you're not the one voicing the characters, you're not the one writing the story, you're not the one making the game. So who are you to say what the character should and shouldn't do? Mm-hmm. I'm still not a fit. Like, I think part one's better than part two. Part two is still a very good game. The fighting mechanics, not my favorite thing in the world. I just never felt like actually a little bit like towards the end of the game, I felt like I was able to sneak around a little bit more. But I don't know, like Brandon, if you heard me like a few weeks ago when I was playing like the beginning of the game to the mid game, I felt like I could not sneak around at all. Like I always felt like I was being spotted and attacked, and like there was no option for me except to, you know, shoot my gun until I run out of bullets and I die and I restart. The way you craft and, you know, select your weapons is still the same as the first game, which I really like. I think they've kind of got that down to a T. And I mean, this isn't like is it a spoiler? I don't think it's not a spoiler, but there's definitely like an open-ended ending that you could say they could make like another one.
Like it's up to interpretation to like think that they can do another one.
Like, yes. Like, I don't know if they will. Because part two, like, if you did, like, part one and part two, that sounds like it's, like, part two is, like, the end. You know, like, I wouldn't... It would sound weird if it was, like, Last of Us Part 3. I'd be like, well, you have to end on it. You have to end on an even number, in my opinion.
I think that's the complex of, like, what movies have taught us with, like...
Yeah.
Endgame and Harry Potter and Hunger Games. They all had Mockingjay Part 1 and 2. Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, half... Like you need to have 2 sections to fill out a whole game or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like overall, in my opinion, like I did really like it. And I definitely, I liked the later half, like the second half of the game. They also do something like really, in my opinion, that's really cool. Is they'll like set up this character and then they kind of just like shift your opinion completely, like in the second half of the game. On that character, and it kind of like, you know, it makes you think of both sides, and I'm being very vague on purpose,
No, but
but it makes you look at two sides of the story, and you kind of have to choose like what side you're with almost. And it's a pretty tough game to watch. It's pretty grueling. Like it's pretty like if you've seen the trailers, like it's exactly like that through the entire game. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm moving on to Ghost of Tsushima. I haven't started it yet, but I just bought it the other night. I'll probably have a review of that when that's done, a little short review. But yeah, overall, if I had to give it like out of 5-star rating, like we do with Letterbox, I'd probably give it like a 4.5 out of 5. I don't think it's like a masterpiece like people are saying, but it's still a very, very good game.
Can I interject and ask?
Yeah, yeah.
You beat the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it better than the first one, story mode? Like single player campaign, I should say.
Like the story.
Just like playthrough. Did you
like
feel
the actual
like
gameplay?
It left you more. Yeah.
The gameplay. I like the gameplay more in the first one than the second one. It's literally probably the same, but I felt better in the first one for some reason. I don't know why, but
that's how I felt. Like that's how I felt with asking people. That's the kind of vibe I got. It was like the first one was a lot more. And maybe it was because it was a unique factor, but like they felt like the first one just did it better than the second one. Not like anything wrong with the second one.
I mean, it's hard to follow up that game because it's
like
they like
caliber.
People like think that it was one that's people say that's one of the best games of like all time. So it's it's kind of like you do your best, but you'll probably never like achieve the same height. All right,
perfect. Well, that was TJ's little mini review of Last of Us. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and so I just want to say real quick too. I know we talked about it a little bit at the top of the show, its existence, but we do have a secondary show on this channel and on this podcast feed called Planet Council. It is our Star Wars only show. It's every single weekend, sometime on Saturday. We've actually been posting it closer to like 6 p.m. Or 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. It's more of like a late night show as opposed to like a midnight show like this one is, where it just goes up like late at night. But we do have something cool coming that we are in the early stages of talking about to kind of diversify the podcast feed even further. To bring you guys some more content, some more specific content in the comic book realm of things. So that's as far as I'll go into that. But we are, me and TJ have been talking about it. This whole week, actually, the last couple of days, we've been talking about some pretty cool ideas about ways to expand, what we do and stuff like that, and make sure it's as equally as exciting to do for us as it is to hopefully bring you guys the content that we do every single week. So with that, let's go ahead and roll right into our first segment every single week, which is the new news segment. Now, once again, I feel like a broken record on this, where there's honestly, since we've started this podcast and the whole year, there's been two consistencies, which is Tenet being delayed, and unfortunately, like almost at this point, I'd consider it like 2016 level of celebrities passing away. For those like who don't remember or like just didn't think about it, like 2016 was really one of those years where it just seemed every single week there was like big, huge celebrities passing away, like left and right. And unfortunately, it's really starting to turn into, on top of everything else that everyone's going through this year, it's really starting to turn into that kind of a year. So let's just start off firstly here with the unfortunate passing of Olivia de Havilland, who was 104 years old. She was the last surviving cast member of Gone with the Wind. She was the last real surviving member of Hollywood's golden age. A lot of people like Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, that whole era, even on the male side, like Clark Gable, all them, they've all been gone for really a long time, comparatively to her. I mean, to live 104 years, and have the complete meteoric rise of your career happen almost 60 years ago. You think that she rose to prominence almost 60 or 70 years ago and then lived the entire rest of her life. Um, Obviously, you know, we've talked on this show about the celebrities that have passed, about some of them have had, you know, gone way too soon, like we saw in the past couple weeks, honestly, with a few of them. But this is obviously life well lived. What do you got? What did you guys takes? Now, obviously, we're film fans and stuff, but you know, we haven't seen a lot of her work because you know a lot of it's older stuff. But I mean, how do
Hmm.
you feel about you know just losing kind of a titan of the Hollywood community and somebody who's kind of like when we lost Kirk Douglas earlier this year, somebody who kind of in the back of your mind you're like, oh, they're just going to be around forever. What do you guys think? I guess we'll start with TJ on this.
Um, yeah, it sucks. Like you said, like I don't think I've ever seen any of her movies.
Hmm.
She's won 2 Oscars, so obviously she was pretty, astounding actress.
Yeah,
Um, I, it just, yeah. I mean, 104. That's an accomplishment in itself. 104
yeah,
years old.
absolutely.
That's crazy. I mean, I saw like a tweet today. It's like she lived through 2 like pandemics, like COVID, and I mean,
Yeah,
COVID's
you
not
think
over, but
two pandemics, almost 2 world wars,
yeah.
because she was or no, yeah, 2 world wars because she was born in
No,
World War One.
yeah.
Yeah,
um, no, man, it's tough to see. We're losing a lot of people, and of course, the next story that we have is even,
tougher. Yeah,
another pass. Even yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, like thoughts and prayers to your family. But yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, what do you think, Brandon? Just the you know general, just the passing of somebody that big in the Hollywood community.
Yeah, to backpack off of TJ, but I mean, I really, whenever you hear about like big movies, like Gone with the Wind is one of the biggest. Uh, it just, I remember like my grandparents were huge fans of that. That was, I think that was like one of the first movies they saw in cinemas. But yeah, it's I wasn't even aware that like those actors and actresses were still around, and so like
Hmm.
when this news broke, I was like you said, like it reminded me in that back of my head, like I can't believe she was still around this long. That was what, like 75 years ago, because like if you think about it, if it's 60 years ago, then she was 44. Like just 60 years ago, she's 44.
Yeah,
So like 104 is a huge accomplishment. Saying it like she accomplished life or whatever, but like it's just insane to like comprehend around my brain that like she's been around for that long, and that actresses like that are still around, and like it makes me think about going to watch more of that golden age of movies and
Yeah.
try to admire some of that kind of content rather than just like be in a glass ball with myself like my age, which we're going to talk about. Like we had mentioned, we're going to talk about the next story about the other passing, and hits a little bit harder to home because how much I have watched their work. But
hmm,
if you want to bring that up.
yeah, yeah. So that I think we'll do it for you know talking about Olivia de Havilland there. Again, you know, just something that's really really tragic. Losing somebody like that, but you know, like I said, it's one of those things where it's like a double edged sword because it's like life well lived. You know, like she was, you know, she had some. I think the last like newsworthy thing was I don't know. Had either of you watched Feud, the Betty and with Betty and Joan, the FX show about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford? No. It
I've
was a
seen things on that, but I
yeah,
have
it,
not.
it, it was a really really great show. And I'm like 90% sure. Kathy Bates played Olivia de Havilland in that show.
Oh.
Um, and it was a cool thing because I think a younger actress played her like in flashbacks, but because Olivia de Havilland was still alive, it was like part of the show was like these celebrity interviews talking about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, like fake celebrity interviews
Hmm.
with actors playing the celebrities, and one of them was Olivia de Havilland because she was still alive, and it was like after the
Oh.
other two had passed, and it was Kathy Bates playing her. And like Olivia de Havilland at like 102 years old, sued FX because she didn't like the way that she didn't like the way that she was being portrayed. And it's just like, if I'm 102 years old and I still have the mental capacity and the veracity to sue somebody because I watched a show and didn't like how I was portrayed, that I think that would be a good life lived there. So I think that's like super, super funny. But yeah, so next, somebody who was very funny and somebody who probably, like Brandon said, hits a little bit closer to home for the three of us because, growing up, I mean, you almost talk to anybody who grew up 80s, 90s, or grew up 2000s like us, Regis Philbin, but just headline here, Regis Philbin has passed away at 88. Just growing up, I mean, I'll just talk for myself first here. I mean, obviously, talk about first 88. Honestly, somebody like Regis, I feel like he did probably still have more in the tank. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like for Regis Philbin, I feel like 88 is kind of young. He strikes me as somebody who would be around until he's 104. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just growing
it's one of those
up,
people that you think will always be there. I feel like that's
exactly,
just like what,
yeah, because it's like growing up. I mean, you would come home from school or whatever, like, and like Regis would just be on the TV, like like you would just hear Regis and Kelly, like just the words Regis and Kelly was like just ingrained in your brain as like, oh yeah, that's happening again. You know what I mean? Like but that was every single day. And then obviously, like, I grew up. Well, I don't know about you guys, how big you were into game shows, but Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I mean,
that was
yeah, like that. Just I would just binge, like, before binging was even a thing, on like the Game Show Network or like MeTV or whatever, like some of those basic cable ones that they would just play old reruns of all of his Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But yeah, I mean, it's so sad to see him pass away at 88, but that's some of my thoughts. What do you think? We'll go with either one of you guys first there.
All right, I can start because I wanted to talk about this. It was kind of like surreal. I had grown up watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire every night, and that was my, like, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and that's when I went to bed right after we stopped watching. So every weeknight before school, or after school, or school nights, I should say, we would watch Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it kind of got me into trivia game shows, and I just love the way they did it. The way they did it back then was crazy. He had a lot of enthusiasm when he did it. Like, you go back and you watch when the first $1 million winner wins, and he's just like joking around with them. He was a very lively personality, and then like you can see that when he started with Regis and Kelly and did all the he went into that part of show business and did the talk show end of it. But like, I've known him. He's like you said, just the people that are always going to be there. And it made me like think, gosh, Bob Barker's still around. He was another like childhood icon for game shows that I grew up like as an idol for TV. It was like Regis Philbin was on the Mount Rushmore of TV shows that I watched as a kid for actors, or like people who were in reality TV or whatever it was, shows. He was definitely up there, and like Bob Barker's another one. But it's incredibly sad because I really, really did enjoy the way that he presented Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Sure, it got like it stayed on the air for a while. I don't know if it still is, but they had like a whole bunch of different people go on as hosts, and it just progressively became less of a thing that I wanted to watch because of the way they presented it. But like with Regis, it's so easy to like go back there and watch it. It is really sad to see that he had passed. So like I said, it was real.
Like the last one, I don't have as strong a connection to Regis as like you guys. I didn't grow up like watching like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire every night or anything like that. But it's still somebody that like I knew who they were. You know what I mean? Like, you don't watch any of their stuff, but it's still like you know who they. It's like they're almost like a pop culture like icon.
It's like I would consider him like, when you hear the term like staple, you know what I mean? Like, he is just like always there, and I think that almost speaks more to it that you didn't watch, his stuff all the time, and you still always like knew of him and who he was.
Yeah.
After
did he ever have was Regis Kelly was so like you said like an afternoon show? I
Yeah, it
like
was
know what
like
it is, but, like, because I
yeah,
know
it
it's
was
like
like
Ryan
it's
Seacrest
like
now.
a
And
what do they call it? Like daytime talk show. It's like
okay,
like
did he
Oprah
ever
and
do like a
Ellen type.
morning thing?
I think he was like
Yeah, he was a part of the Good Morning Show, the Good Morning America. I know
Good
Maybe
he.
Morning
that's
America.
what it
Yeah,
was.
I
And I
didn't
feel
know
like
if
I
it
remember
was.
like
Not part
seeing
of
him
that.
like if I was home from school sick or something like that.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you watch those shows like Price is Right and stuff when you're
Yeah.
homesick.
Mhm.
Watching that makes me sick. Like,
Yeah.
not
He said
Um.
he
But
watches an
yeah.
episode of Price is Right and then he calls into work. I can't. Oh man.
we talked about
But yeah, I mean, like we said, just honestly, like it's tough on the passing of both of them, but it's just like with Regis, like me and Brandon were both talking about, it's just a little bit hits a little bit closer to home because it's like somebody that, you know, I wasn't by any means like when you hear people are like, oh, I was like the TV was my babysitter. Like I wasn't anything like that, but it was like I would watch TV a ton,
Yeah.
and he was definitely somebody that at some point every single day I would be watching Regis and
Hmm.
Kelly, um, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But yeah, tough either way on losing both of them. I really hope. I really just hope this year slows down with taking more people. It's been really really tough.
What a wash of a
Yeah, I
year.
know. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of change gears here a little bit. And I'm going off script here with both of you guys, because during all of our technical difficulties and getting ready for the show today, there has been a ton, and it kind of runs the scale from rumor to sources say to confirmed to official.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna run through what I'm gonna call the Disney Plus roundup here because Disney Plus has
Okay.
been dropping uh, little tidbits all day here with a bunch of these different sources. Um, let's go ahead and lead off with maybe not the biggest one, but yeah, we'll say the biggest one, the most sure deal for the last one in this. But this is the most recent one here, which is coming, which is from Jeremy Conrad of Star Wars Unity. He's a big scoop guy on Twitter. I highly recommend following him. But this is just the article I have pulled up here is from the direct, so from thedirect.com from their Star Wars feed, which is that Solo, a Star Wars story, which we've been talking about between the two shows. We've been talking about Solo a lot lately because of the whole hashtag make Solo 2 happen. Looks like they finally might have gotten through to Lucasfilm because this is a preliminary report here that Solo, a Star Wars series, Star Wars story sequel is reportedly in the works for Disney Plus. So right now, we don't know if this is going to take shape as one of the 6 episode shows that they're doing, or I think I was talking about this one before we started recording with TJ a little bit. Possibly even being a Disney Plus original film is also another option because with Togo and stuff like that, they have done films, not just series on there. What do you guys think about this? About what this is seemingly saying a direct follow up to Solo, a Star Wars story. Presumably, this would be referring to a continuation of Han and Chewie's story. What do you guys think about that? And what kind of form would you want to see it take shape in on Disney Plus?
You can go,
I,
Brandon.
yeah, I would like to see it as another movie. I feel like as a minority, even with like what you said, this huge movement of make Solo 2 happen. I think I'm in the minority, at least amongst people that I talked to, that I really really enjoyed Solo, and I thought it was really well done. I thought the whole presentation of it was really nice. I would like to see it remain a movie series, like just like sequels or whatever it is. But I mean, you would probably need to bring back Amelia Clark and go forward with that story as well, because if you were to watch them back to back, or if you were showing somebody for the first time, it would kind of be a little bit confusing if they did not wrap up her
Mm-hmm.
story. But I can see like what you said is following more of the Han and Chewie story. So if they were to leave that behind, then maybe you can tie it into somewhere else. So I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't really mind that, but I think it's better off if they were to complete the whole story behind the ending of the first one. So those are like my two thoughts about it.
Yeah, and I know obviously you weren't on the Star Wars show with us, but that is actually in development. Is a Maul and Kira show,
Oh,
just
okay.
by itself. Yeah, it's gonna be
Uh,
like it's gonna be basically a Crimson Dawn, show where it's gonna be picking up. They haven't said. Well, actually, you might still be correct in that because it wasn't specified whether that would be a prequel series or taking place after. So this could be, something with. You'd presume it would be after if the main characters are Maul and Kira, because you would think if it was a prequel, like you would think Paul Bettany would be a main
yeah.
character.
I
But yeah, it sounds like in some way or some fashion or whatever, we are going to be getting Kira's story continued at least. What do you think, TJ?
I think it should continue as a movie on Disney Plus. Um, Again, I'm like complete opposite of Brandon. I didn't hate the movie or anything. I just thought it was fine. It didn't really do anything for me. I liked Rogue One way more. Um, Again, if they can come up with something like if they can come up with like a story that like attracts people to want to watch it, and obviously, I mean, like I said, I think I don't know a podcast or two ago, like Alden Ehrenreich, I thought he was like good. Like I didn't think he was like a bad in the thing or anything, bad in the movie. But like it's. I just would like to see if they can get all the same people back. Maybe you like tie in the movie to the like a Lando series and the Kira series. And I feel like you just have to have like a compelling story that needs to be told. Like I just didn't feel like Solo was a story I needed to know. Like I just didn't, it just didn't grab me in that way. But I'd be excited to watch it when it was coming out. Again, like we said, me and Sean talked about this, I think, on the Planet Film or the Planet Council. This is one of those things for me though, is that like I'd like to see it, but it's like something that I just don't need right away. Like if you said this is coming out in like 2030, I'd be like, okay, like
All right, so another bit of Star Wars for news for Disney Plus here, that we're not going to cover here because we actually already covered it. We actually the other night there was some Cassian Andor news that the three of us actually, me, Brandon, and TJ, did a special impromptu live episode of Planet Council. So you can go ahead and check that out on the podcast feed or on the Pace Eating Yak YouTube channel. It's up on both of those right now. So you can go ahead and tune in for that news to that video or that podcast. It's about 25 minutes of us discussing it and some other stuff that we want to see for the Cassian Andor show. So if you want to get our thoughts on that, go ahead and check out that episode. And so the next thing up here, and I lied a little bit because this actually isn't Disney Plus, this news right here. So we'll just call it the Disney Roundup, which is the Captain Marvel 2 news, which is that Captain Marvel 2 is reportedly teeing up to be the next kind of Civil War level film. Now, obviously, we're not talking about literally the storyline Civil War where they're going to be fighting each other, but we are getting basically Captain Marvel 2 is reportedly going to be the same way Civil War was like Avengers 2.5. This is being referred to as kind of Avengers 4.5, where you're going to have, probably like they're saying like maybe 10 or more main Avengers players in it. They're saying that it's probably going to be adapting the Secret Invasion storyline. And after her debut, I lied again. We'll call it a Disney Plus thing because this also does have to do with Ms. Marvel, sorry. After Ms. Marvel's Disney Plus debut, this is reportedly going to be her big screen debut in the film side of the MCU. So obviously still pretty early on the Ms. Marvel show. We haven't gotten any official casting on it yet. There have been some names circling. But what do you guys think about Captain Marvel 2 kind of being the next Avengers setup movie on a scale of something like Civil War with many, many Avengers characters in it? And also, what do you guys think about Captain Marvel being the stepping stone film introduction of Ms. Marvel after her Disney Plus debut?
Go ahead.
Either one.
Oh, okay. Uh, I think I really like Civil War. It's like up there with like some of my top MC movies. So I think it would be cool that they kind of go back to the same like formula. Um, I I don't know when I watched Captain Marvel, I really liked it. I haven't watched it since then. I actually watched it 3 times in the span of I think the first week when it came out, but just because like I think we watched it, we had like an employee screening, and then
Big
like
fan.
I went
Big
to go
fan.
see it, and yeah. So I haven't watched it since then. So when we review it eventually, maybe my opinion will change. I don't know. But I really like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I think this is a very interesting idea to have. Like I wonder if, like, because there's going to be multiple Disney Plus shows with multiple new characters you've never seen, correct?
Yeah, so just
Like
basically
Moon Knight, right? Is that his name?
yeah, so like the new characters is going to be Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, and the character that we are going to talk about next, which would be Kate Bishop, not getting her own series, but she'll be introduced in the Hawkeye series. Oh, and I'm sorry, and also She-Hulk. So those four characters will all have their own Disney Plus show. Kate Bishop, obviously be sharing the Hawkeye show with Clint. But those 4 characters will first appear on Disney Plus and then move into the feature film side of things. Feige has confirmed
do you think that? Do you think that would be where they would debut them, or no? Like, do you think that'd be like one of the big reveals? Like, they take all those. I mean,
you mean all of them, not just necessarily Ms. Marvel?
Yeah, into that one movie.
Honestly, yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. Because I think right now, I think the Ms. Marvel being introduced in that is obviously the clearest fit because the whole point of that character is that she's inspired by Carol to become a superhero. So those characters kind of go together. But I think you're absolutely right. Similar to how, everyone was like, hey, Black Panther, this is his big reveal in Civil War, then go check out his movie coming soon type of thing. But also in Civil War, you got somebody like Zemo. You got kind of Bucky really becoming Bucky again, the Bucky that we know him now. And also Tom Holland's Spider-Man first appearance. So Civil War had the structure to contain like 15 superheroes, maybe even like 16 superheroes, and then also introduce 3 new ones on top of that. Which, if you're going with the structure of this movie similar to that, I think absolutely. I think that would be an awesome moment. Is if maybe Clint shows up and he's like, "Here's my friend, been training her up with the old bow and arrow," or if there's a badass introduction of Moon Knight. Or even honestly, I could see this film being the introduction of not even necessarily just characters from Disney Plus. You could see maybe Mahershala Ali pop up in this as Blade before his solo. Before I know it's like it's crazy that all that stuff was announced over a year ago, and now it's just going to be an even longer wait. It's like this whole year of waiting was like for nothing because it's all just pushed again. But yeah, I mean, my guess is Feige is going to want to get Mahershala on screen as Blade as soon as humanly possible. So what do you think about all this news, Brandon? What do you think about the size and scope of the film and about introducing some of these characters?
So maybe I have the Spider-Man 3 complex, but I am on the opposite end of the spectrum. I like to be able to follow a movie relatively easily. Now, that doesn't mean like I don't want others members of the movie, but if you detract too much from the actual main storyline, it kind of gets all wishy-washy, and I feel like you're trying to do too much with too many people. However, if you like can do something that incorporates an introduction of a bunch of characters, and that may be for like a scene or like they like announce that they're a part of them in the middle of the movie and then they're a part of the final battle, whatever it may be, and like you just see clips of them there, here and there, that's fine. I don't want it to be. Now Tom Holland's introduction in Civil War was that scene when Tony Stark goes to his apartment complex with his aunt in there, and they like just do that like brief 10-minute little exchange of like introductions. But if they were to do that for multiple characters, it may be push not just 10 minutes, but like even like a scene could be relatively too long if you're trying to just fit too much. Now I trust in what Disney and Marvel can do with their abilities, but Captain Marvel itself as a movie, I'm not too familiar with her comics like series, but I mean the first one was easy to follow along. It wasn't one of my favorites, but like it wasn't one of my least favorites. It's just like
Yeah.
great. It was a part of the series. I needed to see it before Endgame. The Endgame like introduction of her when she came in was awesome. So, and at least I had a little bit of backstory to that, and I just thought it was good for what it was made out to be, at least in my comprehension of what the MCU was trying to do with her.
Now, question. So you mentioned, Captain Marvel herself's introduction. Um, Really, if you think about it, we had the Captain Marvel movie, and then when she pops up in Endgame, she's just there, and there's not really a moment. I mean, sure, there's the Thor moment of like, who is
Yeah.
she?
I
Like, oh,
mean,
I like this one, but like,
yeah.
do you think maybe they could do that where it's just kind of the presumed you have watched this thing, so you already know who this is, kind of the way that there was with Carol in Endgame? Do you think that maybe you could have that with these characters?
It would really like that depends on who you're bringing in. So like the only reason I said what I said was if we're introducing new characters, like if we're doing like the Ms. Marvel and
Mm-hmm.
like the characters from that series, if you try to introduce, I like we don't know who these 10 plus Avengers are, like main characters are that we're talking about, and they just if that's all they're saying, then yeah, it could be any of those people. It could be ones that we already know. If they just do something like I said, like maybe like Clint shows up, like you said, and it's just like a quick little scene. He comes out of like the house or whatever, talks to them, tells them maybe he'll think about being there when they need him, and then he shows up and saves people or shows that he's actually in the fight. Like I've watched hundreds of movies where that thing happens. That's like I'm fine with that if that's all the direction they want to go with, because at least you got the star power in there, you got the draw, and you got that special moment that you can be like, this is connected. I enjoy seeing multiple superheroes doing the same thing, and it's just that kind of like point in the movie where it has that feel good moment, which I don't know. I really enjoy in the
Mm-hmm.
Marvel movies. Like that whole scene with Carol and Avengers was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think we can move on to our last in this little Marvel Disney roundup here, which is that seemingly, finally, after months and months and months of speculation, almost immediate speculation that this would be who they would go with, it's looking like Haley Steinfeld is either going to be very soon or has already officially signed on to be Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series at first, and then to be Kate Bishop in the MCU going forward.
Hmm.
I mean, this is something that Haley Steinfeld being rumored for Kate Bishop has been brewing for well over a year. You just kind of look at the character. It's kind of one of those Reed Richards, John Krasinski type things. Somewhere along the lines, like 2017, 2018, they started even drawing the character to look like Haley Steinfeld in the comics. Um, and now, seemingly, like we said, hasn't been officially confirmed by Disney yet, or by Marvel yet. But there's multiple sources, including I believe one at THR, which is saying that it's either 99% or 100% lock that finally Haley Steinfeld will be Kate Bishop. There was some doubt for a while because she has that show on Apple TV Plus. What is it called?
Oh.
Dickinson. And so originally they were thinking, her schedule was not going to work with that. But, one plus of COVID and everything being delayed is that her schedule moved around, and she apparently now has the open availability to be in the show. So what do you guys think about, a young actress as prolific and a great actress as Haley Steinfeld coming to be the MCU's next Hawkeye? What do you guys think about that? Why don't you go first? This one, Brandon.
All right. So just a little bit of backstory. Huge Transformers person, so I know her from Bumblebee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome actress. To see her, it's just like the rich get richer with the actual casting of Marvel, and it just seems like they can't miss when it comes to like who they need in their movie, who they actually want. So I mean, it's just another hit, like out of the ballpark answer for Marvel if they get it done for the next Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm. What do you
I
think,
think
TJ?
this is what you're going to start seeing from them is they're going to start going younger with the actors and actresses to kind of take over. Like, obviously, they said it, and we already knew it was going to be a thing. Florence Pugh taking over basically for Scarlett Johansson with the Black Widow.
Yeah.
And like I echo exactly what Brandon said. She was great in Bumblebee. I didn't know she was in Pitch Perfect. I don't really remember her in that movie. I don't know if she was like a big character. Was she big or no? Like a big like main character? Or no?
Yeah, she was like you're challenging my knowledge, but or my
Do you want me to tell you
memory.
what
I
her
should
name
say.
was? Her name was Emily. Does that ring a bell?
Isn't she the new?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, no, I know who the character is. Like what she did, I just didn't know her name. She was like supposed to take over for Anna Kendrick, but then Anna Kendrick was like, "No, actually, I'll do the third movie." And then Haley Steinfeld was just kind of in the third movie. Like it was just
okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird situation, but like
Yeah. Sean? Do you remember her from Charlie's Angels? Did you watch up to the part she was in? No. Okay.
She was not. If Haley Steinfeld was one of the angels, I would have stayed for that whole movie.
But she was really good. Like again, like I just said, she's very good in Bumblebee. Very talented actress. I'm excited to see her in the MCU. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited.
Any
I just want to see the show.
True Grit fans in the house here?
I've never seen that.
She's so good in True Grit. I mean, she got nominated for an Academy Award at how old was she? Like 13, 14 in that movie.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
And then also, for me, one of my, and you could fact check this right now. Go to my letterbox, which is in the description of every single episode here. My top 4 favorites: Edge of 17. I think her best performance to date is her performance in Edge of 17. I think it's one of the single greatest coming of age movies of the past like 20 or 30 years. I think her chemistry with Woody Harrelson in that is fantastic. Who knows? Maybe one day Kate Bishop and Carnage can meet up and they can have Carnage together. I don't know. A little reunion there. But that.
What?
Well, because Woody Harrelson is Carnage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
I like didn't get it. I was like,
no, yeah, yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh man,
that'll be a doozy. Can't wait for that one to come out.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, obviously, crazy excited for this news. Like we said, something that has been almost inevitable at this point. No pun intended. That she was going to be the next Kate Bishop in the MCU. Looking like finally confirmation after a lot of will she, won't she. We're very glad to see that it finally is that she will, which is great. Now we have a couple of little stories here, quick stories, and then we will get into what is the inevitable topic on this show every single week, which is talking about Tenet's delay. So first up, we're going to go ahead and talk about Comic-Con at Home. So Comic-Con at Home has been happening this whole past weekend here. Kind of a couple things afterwards and a couple things before too. So really like the past week has been the whole thing. You know, there's always the main panels and stuff, but then kind of the stuff that happens outside the convention or outside the panels, I should say, because there was no convention this year. And that is that the Boys panel, the Amazon series The Boys, based on the comic book, had their panel on Saturday, I believe. And it was announced, Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen came in, joined the panel. I watched it live, and they announced right on the panel that before season 2 even comes out that they were again renewed for season 3, similar to how they were with the first season. Before the first season even came out, there was a tremendous amount of positive buzz going on at Amazon, and so it was renewed before the first season even came out for season 2. What are your guys' thoughts? Have you guys watched the show at all? And what are your thoughts on them getting a season 3? Again, just instilling more confidence in season 2. And again, I know you haven't watched it, but Giancarlo Esposito, big role in that show too. Only getting bigger. So
I've watched the first episode.
yeah,
I've liked it a lot. I gotta go back to it at some point. I got a lot of shows I gotta watch.
You met the main star of this.
I did. I met Carl Urban.
Yeah. Tannest man in the world. Tannest man I have ever seen in my life.
But this actually like makes me excited to like kind of watch it because when I watched it, I really liked it. It was really gritty and just it reminded me of Watchmen. Is that
it's
fair?
like if Watchmen was more funny. That's like basically like the way to put it.
But yeah, and you just sold me again. Giancarlo Esposito is in the show. I mean, how can I not watch it now?
He was only it's not really a spoiler, but just his role is expanding. He was only in one episode of season 1. I got to assume, obviously season 2 is not out yet, but I got to assume his role is just going to be getting bigger. And
I feel like Prime's bread and butter is their shows. They just turn out like amazing shows. Like they had Marvelous Miss Maisel, they had Fleabag, they have this show.
They have hits. They have like constant hits in their television department.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm this makes me more excited now. I gotta go watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think, Brandon?
I did not know. I didn't see that. I have not watched an episode. I am not much of a TV person. I'm more of a movie guy. But
yeah,
I mean, anything that people recommend, I will try out. So I mean, I can probably go look at what's going on with this show. So it might be something that I can bring later. But for right now, it's all just kind of like a recommendation to go see it and go.
Yeah, they're about what, like 45 minutes to an hour.
Probably, yeah, they're like they're in that like standard like 42, like 44 minute type thing. I think maybe the season finale is a full hour. But yeah, they're in that like regular like 44-minute thing. But really, really great show. And again, it's one of those things where it just seemingly like Umbrella Academy, which we talked about last week, which I'm probably going to be doing. Just a quick announcement. I'm probably going to be doing on the YouTube channel a like little like 3 or 4 minute videos reviewing each episode once that comes out this Friday. And then I might compile those together and throw them on the podcast feed as well. But that show's coming up really fast this week. It's kind of got the same vibe where Umbrella Academy and The Boys are really, really similar in that way, where it's kind of an oddball out there, like third party comic book. That kind of has that feel where it's like they're kind of all like misfit superheroes and stuff, or in The Boys, not quite superheroes, but I won't spoil anything in there. But yeah, nonetheless, super excited for this. Again, just another piece of it too. I think Seth Rogen is proving to be. Obviously, he's already proven a great actor, already proven a great writer. I think he's just proven to be that his production sense is incredible. Almost everything that guy touches from a production standpoint is incredible. Like all the Point Grey movies and stuff that he does with Evan Goldberg are just so good. And The Boys is no exception to that. Now, just a quick thing here. I don't know if you guys have watched it or have any interest, but Netflix has set a Witcher prequel series. So this is going to be set, I think they said like 1,000 or 1,200 years before the events of the main show. Do you guys have any thoughts on that or any hype or anything about that?
It's cool. I mean, I've never played the game or read the books or watched the show. I know Henry Cavill's in the show. I'm curious to see if it's as big of a draw if Henry Cavill's not in it, which he won't be, I'm assuming.
Yeah, my brother was a huge fan of the games. I had watched it. I didn't really like it as much as a lot of other people. It wasn't that interesting to me. Like I said, I don't really watch TV, but I'm a huge video game buff, so whenever a video game TV show comes out, I'll at least try it. I didn't really like the first couple episodes as much as like other people. Not saying that I didn't like them. I just not as much as I wanted to get invested. So, I mean, and I thought Henry Cavill was really good in it. It just felt really confusing, and I don't know if it's because, like TJ said, I didn't read like the comic or the books or whatever, and I didn't play the games. But I mean, it was harder to follow along than I like to watch. Dull. I like to watch TV to just like watch. I don't have to be too invested in it. So, aside from that, I mean, it's cool for it. It's nice for those fans that are like really into it, and I'm happy for them because I have those kind of like desires for things that I'm really passionate about. But like, it doesn't really have much anticipation factor on me. So, just
Yeah. And
thought.
I know I've talked about The Witcher on here before. I know Sean Witcher update here. I know in the very first episode I said I was going to try and get through it all. I watched one of the episodes. I just been obviously with doing all this stuff. I haven't had a lot of time. One thing I did want to mention in the beginning too, just really quickly, something I watched was what I watched this past week was the Zac Efron show Down to Earth. I just want to take a moment. Just want to take Witcher, cool, good for them. Just want to take just a moment because I forgot to talk about it at the top of the show. That show is incredible. The Down to Earth, like it is so good. You talk about Seth Rogen, Zac Efron too. A lot of his producing projects are turning out to be really good. They kind of remind me of like Brad Pitt, where it's like Brad Pitt's like a great actor and stuff, but the producing is I think where they really shine. I think the same goes for all three of those guys. Zac Efron no exception because I think this show is really good. Yeah, I would definitely check it out. It's just him and this guy Darren, who's like his life coach, but also kind of best friend. Just going around to different countries in the world, just experiencing, getting the experience of being down to earth. That's why it's called that.
Did you see those people saying he had a dad bod?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I was like,
that's
what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I was like,
like,
this is shredded
like,
still.
There's like,
If I look
there's
that
like,
when I'm a dad, I will be doing
yeah, like
backflips.
there's like deeper stuff too to that like of why he's in that shape that like we don't have to get in here, but it's just like people need to
I did
find
see
better
that. So,
things
like,
to do
I was
with their
wondering
lives.
if that. So I hadn't checked it out yet. I had been seeing reports all over like the internet and social media about like his internal battles, and I saw the same thing with like Jonah Hill, and like I don't know.
Oh, Jonah Hill, yeah, he like, yeah.
And it was like I don't want to get like Sean said. I don't want to get too into it, but like I had seen it coming up, so like I thought that was. I didn't know if that was him producing something based on his own life, but if it's,
I just figured he was still in Baywatch shape. I just
No,
figured
he
he wanted
goes,
that
he
shit to
goes into
start
that.
off.
Though. I'll say this. I don't want to get into it here just because it's a lot of his own. It's a lot of personal struggles that he's had that he talks about in the show.
Yeah.
That I would implore you to watch the show because he does go into it a lot. He specifically talks about the shape that he was in for Baywatch and how that kind of really messed him up a little bit. But it's a very great show. The Darren guy that's with him, Darren Olean is his name. He's like a life coach guy, but he's also the co-producer with Zach of the show. And their chemistry, you can just tell that they're just like two kind of kindred spirits, that they're glad they found each other because they really just like vibe on it. It's one of those really mellow shows. But side note to Zac Efron, my pick for the MCU's Wolverine. Let's move on to Tenet. Don't know if you guys have heard of it. Tenet is
no, I never.
It's the Christopher Nolan film. It's actually set for release on July 17th, 2020. Nope. Parallel universe, I was just living in there. Tenet, after last week, me being very happy that they indefinitely delayed the film, Warner Brothers has now turned around and said, nope, we're just delaying it 2 more weeks again. So Tenet now is slated for a late August international release, followed by an early September slow U.S. rollout in select cities. So we're going a little bit long in the news, so I just want to steam through this one, and then we'll cover some of the other schedule stuff. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this is going to work? Obviously, there's the whole issue of piracy with it too, that it's just going to ruin the experience for basically. And granted, piracy, it's been the other way for years, where we get things first and then it's pirated. Mandalorian's a great example. I mean, we had a 6-year jump, or 6-month jump on that show. Yeah, 6-month jump on that show for the European audience. Shout out, we now have a viewer in Denmark, a viewer in England, and a viewer in Germany. So we're growing. They love us over there. But we and that's just on the audio feed. That's not even the demographic for YouTube. So we're doing something. We're making money moves here.
Okay, sorry.
What
Can
are
I
your
start?
thoughts?
Real quick?
Yeah.
Why did they say that it was indefinitely delayed if they were going to come out a week later and tell you what the day was?
Exactly.
What's the point?
Yeah. And I was so excited, too, that they finally indefinitely delayed it, because I was like, good. They're going to pick a wise release date. Like, they're going to really stop and think about it. But nope, they just turned around and just said, no, we're just pushing it another 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we're just speeding through this, and I'll go to Brandon real quick after I just say what I have to say. I'm glad that they're just doing this. I don't know if no one was like, I'm not releasing it to not the whole country. You know, like, fine, international, that's fine if they want to do it first, but I'm not releasing it piece by piece in the United States. Mm-hmm. You know, just recouping some money or trying to make some money is better than not making it at all. You know? Exactly. Like, if you, like, I'm completely fine. Like, with, if you have to go international and release it first there, fine. It's going to be pirated anyway. You know? It's going to be pirated here. People, like, what was it? I think a few months before I left, so like before the pandemic, I walked in, there's some guy videotaping the movie. Like,
I remember that.
Yeah, it's like nothing like, you know, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just going to get pirated anyway. I think it's cool that they're finally releasing it, and maybe, you know, some studios will follow suit.
What do you think, Brandon?
I just know I got hooked onto this like cycle before all this. One of my good friends had tried to buy tickets when Regal had announced that they were opening end of July. So he was constantly trying to update us on the me and my other one friend, because we were gonna, like, we go see movies. It's like a group of 3 every single time of like the new movie. So he kept on updating us, and he's like, look, it's gonna be July 31st. Set the dates. We're doing it. You better not back out. Okay. And it's just been listening to the podcast, and I'm just like, yep, I knew that. I knew that was coming. And then the indefinitely, like, you guys just, all right, good. I don't have to worry about this anymore. And now it's back on the table. So
right back in the mess, as Maz Kanata would say. All right, so that's our thoughts on Tenet. I really don't want to wipe myself out getting into another. This would be my 8th Tenet rant. So we're going to try to avoid that energy today on the podcast. And move on to a happy topic, which is, and you could probably expect, pretty soon, I would say. So basically, the news here is that Bill and Ted 3, Bill and Ted Face the Music, as we have speculated for a while here, is moving to a VOD release. So it's going to be day and date with whatever theaters are open, which most of them said they're not playing day and date movies anyways, so you can really just look. I mean, the studio said they're going to play it in whatever theaters will play it, but mostly the theaters are not going to play this movie because it's day and date with VOD. So you can just kind of look at it as Bill and Ted 3 going right to VOD on September 1st. What are your guys' thoughts on this? You know, it's a little bit of a delay from their original release date. I think originally it was August 28th. Yeah, so it's just a couple of days later. And they're just putting it straight to VOD. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Are you excited to see it? And just in terms of this podcast, I know one of our favorite reviews by our viewers was the Bill and Ted one. And we will definitely be reviewing Bogus Journey before this comes out so that we can review this when it comes out. So TJ's going to have to watch that for the first time. And well, I'm just saying, because we said like that it was whatever.
No, I know.
But on that, we might be doing, he's been holding off on watching the trailer, but we might do a trailer reaction for the new one because a Bill and Ted 3 trailer just came out with this announcement. So we might be doing that. So keep your eyes posted for that. But we will definitely be reviewing Bogus Journey within the next month before this comes out. But what is your thoughts on this? We'll go with Brandon first on Bill and Ted 3 heading straight to VOD.
I think it's the right move. I think that companies should be doing this more. Just trying to get their movie out there, play it wherever want to see it. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Not much on Bill and Ted, but just on the idea of getting it out there is I think more impactful than the movie itself, and maybe others follow suit.
All right, yeah, and TJ, what are your quick thoughts on it?
Well, it looks like they took my advice from like 1 or 2 weeks ago when I said that they should just release it on VOD. Again, this is a movie that probably doesn't cost that much, and you can just put it on VOD and probably make your money back. I don't know. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know how many people are going to want to buy it or going to buy it. I'm excited we get to watch it. I didn't want like this movie isn't one of those that needs to be delayed, and like it doesn't demand a theater experience.
Exactly.
So it's just.
I would almost argue it's the other way. Like you want to watch it with a group of friends, like in a home.
Exactly.
Like,
that's
movies.
I'll echo for any shared audience here. I will echo what John Campea said, if anybody saw that. Just because it's kind of, I think, what the main consensus is. What he said to Robert Meyer Burnett. He said, or actually, I think it was the other way around. I think it was Robert Meyer Burnett said this, which my brain is not functional. Everybody knows this who watches the show. Which is that, I think Bill and Ted 3, in fact, like Brandon said, I think it's the perfect movie for a VOD release. Like you said, it's a feel-good, funny, like chill out, relax comedy to watch with your friends, with your family. Obviously, you don't want to have invite a bunch of people over because you can't have that. But to watch it in a family setting, it's just kind of a feel good movie, and I'm glad that we're going to be able to watch it at home. And again, on the budget side, you guys know I love my box office. On the box office side of things, this movie's not that big of a budget. You're talking maybe $35 million. They could easily, with a worldwide VOD release, they could easily make that back with this film. It doesn't say whether this is going to be a VOD rental or buying. I'd assume it's going to be a rental for 2 months, and then it'll be buying. But with that, between the VOD rentals and the VOD, when people eventually buy the full film, they're going to easily be able to make their money back on this. And honestly, like I said, I don't see them not making their money back. But even if they don't, they're not going to take that much of a hit on this film because it's so low budget. But I think this movie has a lot going for it as a home release. So speaking of releases, I'm just going to run through here just a quick update on the release schedule, because we have all these patchwork stories that we talk about every single week. It's hard to kind of grasp the big picture of what the box office landscape kind of looks like right now. So just to go through everything here, we have right now, we had Unhinged on the schedule, and I'm just going to run through basically what is set in stone for the rest of 2020. We had Unhinged on the schedule, the Russell Crowe film. That has been moved indefinitely. We just talked about what Tenet's doing. Right now, still set on its date, is Antebellum, the Janelle Monáe Civil War kind of horror thriller, I guess you would call it. That is still sitting on its date of August 21st. We talked about... so then here's another big one that released this week, the news, which is Mulan has been undated, which just is a Disney term for indefinitely delayed. Then we have...
Forget about New Mutants.
Yep, we talked about Bill and Ted going to VOD. Then poor New Mutants, still set for August 28th, which, I don't really see a world in which Tenet sticks to this date, but if Tenet does stick to this date... New Mutants is really only slated for a few days before it. So I don't think they're going to stick to it, because I think Disney's being a lot wiser than Warner Brothers in this case. In this entire case, with everything that's been going on, I think Warner Brothers is being a lot wiser. Or I'm sorry, I think Disney's being a lot wiser than Warner Brothers. I don't think Warner Brothers is being wise at all. And then we have now Quiet Place Part 2 has been moved to 2021. Conjuring 3, 2021. King's Man, still set for September 18th. Probably not for long. Candyman, postponed to October 16th. Again, probably not for long. Wonder Woman, October 2nd. Not happening. Death on the Nile, moved back just a couple of weeks. My guess is that they're going to want to push that to 2021, because that's, they want the big Kenneth Branagh.
VOD.
See, I don't think they would, just because the cast in that, and just like Kenneth Branagh.
Big, right?
Yeah, and how the first movie did, it wasn't like a smash box office.
Yeah,
like,
it was not.
Blow the doors off. But I mean, it made a decent amount of money that they're going to want to try and emulate that in the sequel.
Yeah.
And then, you have things like Black Widow, No Time to Die, Soul, Free Guy, Dune, West Side Story, Coming to America 2, and The Croods 2 are all still set on their original dates from November to Christmas, basically. You'd have to assume each and every single one of those movies is going to move. Every single one of them. So that's just a quick update on where we're at with the schedule. And thank you for bearing with us. I know we have a guest on the show today, and we got kind of the double whammy because we have 3 opinions going around and a ton of news today. So thank you for bearing with us here. But that will do it for the first half of the show here. So we will be right back on the Planet Film podcast in just a moment. All right, and welcome back to the Planet Film Podcast. Thank you so much for your patience there. Now, let's go ahead and get right into our movie review. Now, as some of you guys know, as most of you probably know, last week, it was last week, right?
Yes, last week.
Okay, yeah. I'm losing it. Last week, we started our mega binge of the MCU, so we are going to try and knock out all 23 MCU movies. I think, what did we set we said hopefully before Black Widow comes out. So we're just steamrolling right through this. With this week, we have our review of The Incredible Hulk. Now, I will tell you, like we talked about earlier, we're going to be reviewing Bogus Journey, and a special, really our first kind of meaty review is probably going to be next week. We're thinking of doing a big Oscar bait drama, that me and TJ both love. Spoiler alert for the review, but, so we're going to maybe do that next week. So there's going to be some breaks in the MCU coming up here, but we're going to still try and do it as often as we can. But this week, like we said, we did number 2 in the lineup, which is 2008's Incredible Hulk. So TJ, why don't you go ahead and start us off and tell us a bit about the film?
Okay, so for a quick synopsis of it, Bruce Banner, a scientist on the run from the U.S. government, must find a cure for the monster he turns into whenever he loses his temper. I'm pretty sure that's pretty self-explanatory if you know anything about the Hulk. I can't pronounce the director's name, so I'm not even going to attempt to say it. I'll be honest. His first name's Lewis. If you want to look it up, feel free to look it up. Basically, the big stars in this movie are Edward Norton as Bruce Banner, Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky, I believe it is, William Hart as General Thunderbolt Ross, and Tim Blake Nelson, Samuel Stearns, and Ty Burrell as Leonard, who was a big surprise to me because when he showed up on screen, I was like, oh, shit, it's Ty Burrell.
Oh, you didn't know Ty Burrell was in it? That's funny. All right. So, like we do every week, let me go ahead and pull up the box office here. Now, again, this is a different story than what we were talking about with the box office of Iron Man last week. And as we talked about last week, this movie came out just over a month after Iron Man. So it was the exact same summer season. Now, granted, you could say maybe back then there wasn't such a appetite for these movies back to back to back. So maybe, a lot of people spent their money on Iron Man and were like, well, one superhero movie this summer is good enough for me. Or maybe they said, isn't that Batman movie coming out in 2 weeks? Let me save my money for that one. Because this movie made a whopping $264 million.
Oh my God.
On a $150 million production budget. which,
Wow.
as we always talk about here, that means with marketing, it was probably closer to like 250. So they squeaked by. They broke even. Um, Presumably, I mean, we don't know the full figures on the marketing budget. But they squeaked by because if you're talking, 250, they probably made maybe 14 million, maybe even less in profit
Wow.
on this film.
Huh.
Which is probably why we haven't seen a standalone Hulk movie. I mean, there's the universal rights issues, not like universal rights like a political thing. I mean, like the rights issues because Universal Studios has the distribution rights for anything called Hulk. That's why Hulk can be in so many of the MCU movies. They just can't name anything. They just can't have the word Hulk in the title. She-Hulk is a different story, obviously, different character. That hyphen in She-Hulk is very important when it comes to legal rights. Yeah, changes the game on that. Yeah, so unfortunately, not quite a lot to talk about with the box office, but what there is to talk about is not very good. One positive is, made 55 million opening weekend, which is, good. That was about.
Is it?
Not really, but it had. I mean, it had pretty even numbers. Honestly, domestically accounted for about 51% of its box office. Everything else about 49%. So it had pretty good mass appeal. It just didn't really get there, I guess.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's some misses.
Yeah. Oh well, it made almost $10 million in China too, which for early MCU stuff, that's pretty good because especially back then, that was before really the big Chinese box office boom. And also, they don't really allow a lot of like supernatural human experimentation type movies in there. Nowadays, obviously, they love Marvel movies. They hate Star Wars over there in China. The box office for Star Wars is never
so
big,
do we.
but yeah. But yeah. So let's go ahead and kick off with our non-spoiler reviews. So Brandon, why don't you go ahead and give me some initial impressions, first thoughts on this film, all non-spoiler, of course, and then we'll circle back for your star rating.
Yeah, so originally when I had watched this, it was right after it came out on DVD. I watched it with my dad, and I thought it was a really good movie. I wasn't that into like the MCU as obviously as I am now, so I thought it was really good. I thought they just did the Hulk way better in comparison to the I believe it was in 2001 or 2003. It was one of the
for 2001 the Ang Lee Hulk.
Yeah, 2001. Yeah. So it was a breath of fresh air with actually getting a good Hulk movie in comparison to what that was. Just the characters I thought were really well. The Emil character I thought was really well done. Sorry. Yeah. So the Emil character I thought went really well. Just his whole character as a whole.
We made it.
And Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. I know that rewatching it now, it's a little weird knowing that he's still a part of that universe is a little bit different. But I mean, at the time it worked. When I watched it, I still see Bruce Banner as him.
Mm-hmm.
Like during that movie, it just feels like it's a little disconnected from the MCU because it's not Mark Ruffalo. But yeah, that's pretty much non-spoiler as I can go into with how I felt about it rewatching it.
Yeah, perfect. So what do you think, TJ? Go with your non-spoiler.
So I dubbed this the Edward Norton Walking Places movie. I thought he did a lot of walking. Overall, I thought it was. Can I say like what I felt like? It's not giving my star rating. I thought it was very, very fine. I didn't, I just didn't. And I think it might be part to what Brandon was saying. Because I know it becomes Mark Ruffalo, so maybe I would have cared more about him if it was Mark Ruffalo. I think it looks like dated. I think the CGI was not that great, in my opinion. I didn't like their. I liked the relationship that Bruce and what's her name? Bruce and Betty had. Didn't care about it whatsoever. I wasn't like really invested in the relationship at all. I kind of like. I also think this movie might have one of the most obscene, terrible lines in the MCU. It is Tim Blake Nelson's character, who I liked in the movie, where he's like, Tim Roth's character comes in and he's like, I want to be what he is, and Tim Blake Nelson's like, you have something. It looks like you already have something in you. He goes, if we put those together, it could be an abomination. I was like, oh my god. I was like, don't do that. Okay, it's like.
So what you're saying is, it's gonna be carnage.
Yeah, it's like you don't have. I hate it when movies go like wink, wink, like, hey, this guy's gonna be the big monster. It's like we don't need that, okay?
Even think not to cut in on you really quick, but just
you're good.
Just on that point, even in this exact movie, when the Hulk gets his name, it's like perfect. It's like so seamless. It's like that college kid is just like it was Hulk or something.
Sorry. Oh, did they say that? I was like, because I thought the first time they say Hulk is when Tim Roth Abomination says Hulk.
No, the that like college kid says I don't know, it was some like Hulk or something, and then the reporter's like, the mysterious Hulk, and like the name catches on.
I do like that it's not like an origin story. Like they kind of do supercut of his origin in the beginning, and that's about it. That's all you get. Yeah. I do like that. Maybe if it was an origin story and I saw what Bruce and Betty went through together, maybe I'd care more about them as a couple or in a relationship. And one last thing, sorry, the whole like spilling the blood into the little can or whatever, I'm talking about, in the glass bottle. Was that whole thing just so, like, is it because was Stanley drank that? Is that why they're like, oh, we know where he is? Or
no, it was like we'll talk about it in spoilers. We'll talk about it in spoilers. Yeah.
All right, you're up. Sorry.
No, this movie actually takes place in America.
I know.
Because you said Europe. All right, we're gonna. Pretty much I could sum up my non-spoiler review in one line, and I'm actually gonna quote the film. And that is now, granted, in the film it was said in a different language, but I'll just say it in my native tongue of English, and I'll say, "Don't make me hungry. You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry."
That was funny.
So that's gonna do it for my non-spoiler review of The Incredible Hulk. So Brandon, why don't we start off with you? What are you going to give this out of 5 for your star rating?
For a star rating out of 5, I thought about it. I was in between 2, but I think I'm going to have to give it the shorter end of the stick, and I'm probably going to have to put it at 2.5 stars. And I know that's kind of low, but they're
also the same rating.
There are some things that I wish were a little bit different. And I'll get into some of the stuff that I really, really like, and some of the stuff that I like really dislike about the movie when we get into the spoiler section. But like, it all came down to, I thought I was going to rate it higher, but then I thought of like where I would rate other MCU movies, and I was like, well, it's not as good as that one. It's not as good as that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, once you get to that point, I'm like, well, how far back do I push it? And I thought, like, it is an enjoyable movie. Like, I can sit down and I can watch it if something's on, and they're like, it's not going to be my first choice at all. Mm-hmm. But like, I can sit there and watch parts of it. But like, that's what I felt.
So both of you not going enough to get it the fresh on the tomato meter.
No,
not quite.
No.
Gotcha. For my out of 5, I'm gonna go. Should have thought about this beforehand.
You're supposed to have this ready.
I know. Sorry. I feel like I want to change it right now. I'm gonna go No. I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5. I'm gonna go with 3.5 out of 5.
Wow.
Okay, if we're breaking the rules of letterbox here, I'm gonna go with 3.25 out of 5.
Okay.
3.25 out of 5.
Okay.
Leaning towards 3.5 though.
Okay.
This movie is, I'll say this, I think this time watching it, I have had the most enjoyable experience watching this film that I think I've ever had. I saw this movie in 2008 in theaters, and then I also saw it in 2008 at the drive-in, and I think another time in theaters. I think I saw this 3 times in its theatrical run. I was a big fan of this. Like, I got all I wanted that Christmas was like the Hulk hands was like the big thing, was like
I definitely had those.
Hulk
Yeah.
hands. Oh yeah. And I remember, I don't know if we're throwing way back here, but you guys remember the little
Is it Spencer?
no. Happy Meal, the little Incredible Hulk Happy Meal toys. Anybody?
I think so.
I had the Abomination Happy Meal toy for
Oh.
I think it
years.
was I was 15 when the movie first originated, so I wasn't really getting Happy Meals.
Well, I wasn't. Yeah, but I needed to get. I was like, I needed to get it. I don't have a problem with collecting things. It's okay. So let's go ahead and head on to the spoiler section. So full spoilers here. Whoa.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah,
Sorry.
just kick it right off.
What was the ham ride scene?
The what?
Where they're in the crazy taxi. Like, why was that even in the movie?
Yep.
There are a lot of questions we got to ask.
I'm sorry. One other thing. Let's see. Where did I write it down? I apologize. There's like this really weird edit. I think it's like at like around like the midpoint where it's like Edward Norton, I think, walking, and then it just cuts to like for like 5 seconds of Tim Roth talking to General Ross, and it's just like a really weird placed edit where it like doesn't really make sense because you don't really get any information from them cutting to Tim Roth and the general. Like, so I'm like, why is that scene there? Why did you pick to put it there? Why isn't it part of like a bigger scene and a longer scene, where they're doing the infusion and stuff like that? It was very like, I don't know. Not that the whole movie was like discombobulated or anything. I just thought that was something really weird. And then I actually have a question for Sean that maybe you can answer. Whenever an MCU question, I usually ask Sean. He kind of gives me the answer. The whole Tim Blake Nelson brain thing. What was that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So that is something that I will talk about here because that's one of my spoiler things of it. Well, I guess I could have talked about it in non-spoiler, but I wanted to go for the meme, which is just in the vein of Justin Hammer, in the vein of other people from the MCU that I want to see make a comeback. You got to bring back Tim Blake Nelson because he, in the comic books, he becomes the character that he is, and they set it up in this movie. He becomes the leader, who is a guy with a big, huge head. And that was it. That was the setup for him to become the leader.
So it was supposed to be a bigger thing than they just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, he has openly talked about he was signed on for 3 Hulk films.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then because everything that went down with Universal went down, it didn't end up happening, and then they haven't used him. I think maybe the leader is still maybe tied up in the rights thing, or maybe not. Maybe they're just waiting for the right time. Kevin, if you're listening, the right time is now. Just because you could throw anything in the pot right now, and it would sizzle, for the viewers. Yeah, that was basically it. Is that he's supposed to be a big huge villain.
I was like, he's definitely not in any other MCU movies. So I was like, I don't know where this is supposed to go, but. Yeah. All right, do you want to throw it to Brandon?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, it's going to be a really short review this week, guys, because I mean the movie it kind of speaks for itself. I would. Brandon, you can go, and then we'll do final thoughts right after.
Spoilers again. Woo-hoo, spoilers. To give the effect again. All right, so I want to just because I did give it a 2.5, but I do want to point out some really nice things that I thought they did. Now, contrary to what TJ said, I actually thought the CG lasted better off than some of the other Marvel movies.
I'll say that as well. Yeah,
there are two scenes that speak out to me, and the first one is when he fights the army in the open field when they're using like the sound cannons on him, and he's like trying to fight that. I looked at that and I thought it was like seamless. I can see like why people would critique it, but like I still watch it. There are movies that I watch and I go, how did I ever believe that was even close to believable? But like there's that scene, and then the ending fight scene. I mean, the dynamic between Hulk and Abomination at least like sizes up well, and there are some it seems like it goes relatively smooth. Now to counteract that, there's a big gripe I have with that final fight scene, and that is that it is shot in the dark, and they use just the lighting of the street lamps and like the fire for the lighting of it. It is way too dark. There's a lot of chaotic stuff going on, and it just like it's hard to follow with the eye of what exactly is happening, and it really leaves a sour taste in my mouth when I'm like watching the ending of the movie. And that's why I think that I didn't like it as much as I would have with that like last ending bit. But like the CG I thought was pretty good. The acting was really good. I thought Emil's character was amazing. I thought like I look at him and I go like it's like William Dafoe effect. Like that is the bad guy. I look at him and I just see villain. And I thought the casting was really well done with him.
Sorry.
No, you can go ahead. You can.
Just real quick. I just felt like Tim Roth's I wrote down Tim Roth's character confirmed idiot is when he walks up to the Hulk and goes, "That's all you got," and then he smacks him into the tree.
Yeah, okay, that's enough. Like I was like, that dude's dead. Like, I like look at him now. He's like dead. But like it's just like Tim Roth. It's the bad position he was put in. Like he has to go up and say that, but like I look at Tim Roth and like the character of Emil, and I'm just like, that dude is a bona fide villain, and I don't need to even think twice about that. But like, and I thought that speaks volumes to his portrayal of the character. And then just like the storyline, like we said, there's not much of an origin story. It sticks true to easily following Hulk's scenario, him getting mad. He gets the Natalie Portman effect of like Thor. It just like they forget about this love interest that he had in his like solo movie, and when they progress him with the Avengers. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of change, and like we said, it's harder to get interested and invested in it when you know that Mark Ruffalo takes over and
does a very good job.
Like those Avengers movies. But like Edward Norton, not as good as Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. I thought Bruce Banner was better, or Mark Ruffalo was better as Bruce Banner. But I mean, like I said before, I can still see him as Bruce Banner. He does play the character well. It's hard to compare you to Mark Ruffalo when you're dealing with someone who's been nominated like that in lead roles, and even takes a supporting role and turns it into what he does in the Hulk. And I think is probably the best part of Age of Ultron. I mean, that was my favorite part, was the Hulk with a couple of his scenes. But I mean, we'll get into that in a different episode.
Oh yeah.
My
you
reaction.
go, TJ. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was like looking through my notes and just stuff I wrote.
I just want to remind you folks, Brandon and TJ gave it the same score.
Yeah, I feel like I should go lower now that I'm talking about it.
Well, like I said, there's a lot I can bash about it. I'm not just gonna sit here and horse. I want to point out some good things.
Quick, one thing I did like and one thing I didn't like. I liked that in the later MC movies that they changed the design of the Hulk. Did they not?
I don't like the new design.
I liked it more than this one.
I like this original design.
Huh.
I-
I was gonna give it a 3, but like it's like I said, it just compared to the other movies, it just the story lacks the strength and storytelling of the other movies. But
Yeah.
I want to beat
if
a
we're
dead horse.
talking if we're talking the visuals of the Hulk, the actual CG character,
Yeah.
I think he's way too oily in this movie. I
Yeah.
like the look of Smart Hulk or Professor Hulk, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call him. I think that's great. I hope eventually his arm heals. Spoiler alert for that movie.
We have two
I,
different
I just
opinions.
think it looks weird with the arm, but I get why. But I think his best look was probably for me. I think was Age of Ultron. I think that was the perfect mix of looking like Mark Ruffalo, but still looking a lot like the Hulk. I think in like Infinity War, I think they went too far with making the actual face look like Ruffalo. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
because when it's Smart Hulk, I totally get it. I totally get that. They're more combined. It's more a mesh of the two. So it makes sense
Yeah.
that the Hulk's head is basically just Ruffalo's head painted green, a little bit like wider.
Yeah.
But I just thought he was too oily in this. I think the design didn't look enough like Ruffalo in the first Avengers. Just if we're talking the look of the character, I just personally think I like his look in Age of Ultron the best.
Yeah.
We scored it higher.
Yeah. So two. Oh, do you have something else?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I have one more thing that I just thought was that it was like they put it in there. I think to get to where they had to be was okay. So he's talking to Tim Blake Nelson's character the entire time on an encrypted network, and then he gets to the mechanic and he sends an email, just like a regular email. It's like, yeah, of course they're gonna track you. It's like, why are you being so? If you're trying to hide, why are you going to just send an email after you literally told the girl you're with, we can't use phones, they can track us through credit cards, your phones, everything. The only thing we could take is cash, which we had like what $20, and then we have a watch. And then he goes up to this random mechanic's computer and sends an email.
Yeah.
I want to
Like,
make a joke, but I won't.
It's like
I don't know.
It's one of those things where it's like they put that in there because they have to get to the FBI finding them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So,
lapse of judgment from a character that you wouldn't expect it from, and
Basically, oh yeah, exactly. Because he's yeah.
I mean, the
Sorry.
guy invents time travel. You know what I mean? Like, granted, it's like 15 years later, but I mean, we're talking about the same guy here. Invents time
I'm
travel.
gonna have to do a revised rating after. I'm sorry. After this.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's just go. So the last two things we'll talk about in spoilers here, just for me,
Yeah.
just on a personal note, I think the best thing that came out of this movie, period, is William Hurt as Thunderbolt Ross. Obviously,
Yeah.
we thought this whole movie was dead, and then in 2016 with Civil War, he came back, and then he came back with a vengeance because he has been on screen as this character every single year since Civil War. So, and seemingly no end in sight because another Disney Plus project they're talking about is the Thunderbolts, which is he would have his own show. So, I think William Hurt is great in that role. I think they've really dialed in the character with his last couple appearances, and I really like the progression that like you didn't see him for 8 years, and it's like, what has he been doing? And with like the 4-second intro that he gives in Civil War, where he's like, I was mid swing in my golf and I dropped, heart attack, and he was like, it changed my whole outlook on life. I'm a better character now. You know what I mean? Like basically that's what, and I'm also Secretary of State. Deal with it. Like he would be a good. I know they were talking about making Rhodey vice president. I think it would be cool to see Ross as president and Rhodey as vice president, and them two button heads. So that's just my last thing on the spoilers of what I liked about it. But the last thing I'll throw to you guys, it just completely slipped my mind. All right, so I think that'll do it. For crap. Oh my god! All right, I was gonna talk about that, and then. Oh yeah, duh. I don't know if it was an editing thing, because it definitely wasn't Kevin. They put the end credit scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Wow. They put it in the movie. They put it at the end of the movie instead of the end of the credits. But what were your guys' thoughts? Did you guys remember that Tony's in this? What were your guys' thoughts on the end credits?
No, so I'm gonna go real quick because this is just like really brief. Like I said, I watched this with my dad. I had known of Iron Man. I didn't watch it, so this was my first introduction at the
Oh, so you saw
MCU
this
level.
before you saw Iron Man?
Yeah, so I
Wow.
had seen this before because I didn't really know about Iron Man. I knew about the Hulk. I grew up.
Yeah.
Hulk is more popular at the time. So I had watched it and I had known that RDJ plays Tony Stark, and when he came up and he was like, "Mr. Stark, do you always wear nice suits or whatever?" Like the little line that he gives them, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" And then they bring up the Avengers, and I was like, "This is starting something like crazy." And I thought it was just like the coolest thing as a kid. And I think it, I mean, aside from like what we just said, with it being at the end of the movie rather than, but back then it was just like normal to me. It was just an end credit scene that like you see in any movie, like, hey, we're setting up for another one. But like this was what would become 11 years of projects that went onto it.
Yeah, it's funny because me and Sean talked about it last week, and we're like, obviously, like this movie also contributed to it, but Iron Man with the end scene that is made people like that changed their psyche, like just their how they watch movies now.
Just like
They,
movie going in
it could-
general.
Yeah, like it could be like Hugo from Martin Scorsese, and people will wait to see if there's an end credit scene. Like, I mean, we
Which
know,
I'm pretty sure there
obviously
isn't.
we know.
Yeah, we know where.
But as far as this end credit scene goes, when I just watched it now or yesterday, gave me chills, man. I don't know why.
Like in a good way?
Yeah, as soon as RDJ walks into frame and he's talking about the Avengers, it's like
dude,
everything hasn't happened yet. We haven't gotten Infinity War, Endgame, anything.
Exactly.
And I'm like, ooh, we're going somewhere with this.
Yeah, it's like that's why so I'll just all right, so spoilers over. We're pretty much all set here with that, but just that was the end of our review for the Hulk. But I'll just say like I told TJ this, but and it was like I posted on my personal Snapchat and stuff. But yesterday when I watched Hulk, I got the bug, man. I watched right after I watched Iron Man 2, then I watched Thor last night. I'm probably after I'm done or while I'm editing this, I'm probably gonna start Captain America. Like I know we're gonna be reviewing these, but I mean I've seen them a million times already, so I'm probably just gonna binge like the whole franchise now, and then just rewatch them when we review them individually.
I watched like a bunch of just dramas for some reason after this. I watched like this, then Tron, then Spotlight, then Steve Jobs, and then Vox Lux. I don't know.
Yeah, which interestingly, every single one of those movies has a Marvel actor in them.
Oh yeah,
very interesting. In terms of Spotlight, I don't care. I'm just gonna say it. Next week we're reviewing Spotlight, which is basically a Marvel movie on its own because almost every single cast member is in the MCU. Or in some of their cases, just Marvel in general, not necessarily the MCU, because there's a couple X-Men actors in it. But yeah, that'll do it for our Incredible Hulk review. So
quick revised rating. I think I'm going to go down to 2.
Okay, yeah, so he's going down to 2.
That makes me feel better about giving it a higher rating than you did because I didn't bash it as bad as you did.
Well, but also that's the subjectivity of film, right? Is that you guys gave it the same score, and spoilers for the spoiler review. You had 2 very different outlooks on it, which I just think is awesome. You know what I mean? That you can give it the exact same score. Obviously, you revised it, but still pretty similar scores, only a 0.5 difference. And you guys had 2 drastically different experiences. It just goes to show, how subjective film is and how cool it could be. But yeah, one thing we did not do is, do you recommend people watch this film? TJ?
Oh, absolutely.
Watch it because I feel like you have to watch it to watch the MCU. You don't have to watch the MCU, but if you want an introduction to Hulk as, the Hulk, then yes.
It's kind of required reading.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Absolutely. Just a fine movie a fine action movie. 100 movies like it, but at least this has a character that you can relate to, and follow along with, and just a fun movie is what I'll call it. It has its issues, but it's a fun movie at least.
Yeah, yeah, I'd recommend it. Same exact reason. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on here to our final segment every single week, which is shooting the shit. Now, as many of you know, that's always our discussion topic, and this week we will be discussing something that is a discussion happening in Los Angeles right now with the Academy Board, which is should the Oscars, with so many delays and so few movies coming out, should the Oscars just skip this year? It's just going to be a quick, what each of our thoughts are on it. I'll go first. I would say, I would say, in my opinion, I'm kind of torn. I think from a logistical standpoint, yes, I think they need to just make this year a wash, just skip it. But the thing that I'm torn on is technically this year did have movies. Granted, a lot of them were blockbusters, but maybe it's one of those things where you still have to honor what came out in this year, because it's kind of not fair to, like, all right, I'll just use this as an example. I was going to say Sonic, but I'll use an actual, possible awards contending film if it came out, towards the award season, which this year it kind of did, because there's only like a limited window where movies came out. So let's just say Gentleman, right? This is where I'm torn at. A movie like Gentleman should not be punished because other movies didn't come out. You know what I mean? Part of me thinks the Academy needs to recognize the films that came out in this year. Just because it's a smaller selection, that's not those movies' faults. You know what I mean? Like, say if this year had gone no issues, Birds of Prey or Sonic definitely, let's say Sonic definitely in this case, would have gone for visual effects, probably maybe music design or sound editing or sound design. You know what I mean? Like, so I think, this is just my opinion, I think those movies deserve an even shot. Or you need to say, okay, we're skipping the 2020 ceremony, but these select movies are still eligible to be nominated in that ceremony. Because I just think it's not fair to the films that did come out in this year to say, oh, well, you were just kind of early year fare. You'd never really had a shot anyways, so we're just gonna close up shop this year. That's just my take on it. So to me, I think I'm actually right now, I think I am leaning towards, I think they need to do something this year, because it would not be fair to the films that did come out to be punished for something that they didn't have control over. What do you think? We'll go with Brandon on this one first, and then we'll start with GJ.
A lot of what you said, I was agreeing with. As I'm processing it and as I'm going through it, me and my one friend had talked about the World Cup, because we had thought about, or the Olympics, and we had talked about like what would happen if like those were delayed, and we know that the Summer Olympics in Tokyo were delayed or canceled or whatever. And thinking about this, it's a different scenario. Like you said, there are movies that still came out, and you have to ask yourself, like you said, would these have had a fair shot at competing with a whole year of movies? And if you look at a movie like Gentleman, or if you look at other movies that did well, it's up to like viewer discretion. But I mean, if the movie's good, then don't try to bash it for, like, don't say, oh, well, it won in 2020 because there wasn't a wide variety of movies to select from. But like, if the movie's good, you can't punish the movie for being good. There are years where I feel like it is heavily skewed towards Academy season, like that whole, like, I don't know, like the set of months that are right before the awards, and they like heavily favor those movies, and it kind of leaves out a whole bunch of movies. So like, it's the same. I think it's the same concept. Mm-hmm. I think you can look at that. You shouldn't punish them. You should definitely, before awarding those movies, it's that like complex in your mind that you shouldn't feel mad or annoyed that something is recognized for what it did well. And I feel like our society has kind of blackballed people that they feel are undeserving with like accomplishments that some people get. So I am definitely 100%, and I'm not even on the fence of this. Like 100%, they should have awards to the level of every year for the movies that had come out or that will come out, and if they do end up opening these theaters and the schedule is fulfilled and goes through.
TJ?
What if? I was complete opposite. I was like, they should just cancel it. Like, you know,
Honestly, I was complete
changed
opposite until I started talking.
You
and I like
kind of
convinced
changed my
myself.
tune on this. What if they just didn't? They got rid of certain categories for this year.
Like what?
Like, I don't
Also,
know.
another
That's
great
not up
film.
to me.
And another great film too that we reviewed on the podcast a few weeks ago, Palm Springs. That's
Palm
a great
Springs.
movie. That
No, I
movie
was thinking, I was like, I haven't seen Defy Bloods, but I've heard it's really good. Invisible Man was good. I had a few problems with it, but it was a very good movie. Elizabeth Moss could have won Best Actress. She was great in that movie.
Yeah. Jim Carrey for Best Supporting for Sonic. But that's the thing, though. But that's the thing.
Arguments, though, like not in a like if Sonic came out last year, it would not be in any conversation with anything that it's an Oscar contender for anything. You know?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though is that, but it didn't. Just because it came out this year, just because the field is slimmer, does not mean that those movies are allowed to be discounted. The Academy. This is like my thing on this, which is the same reason why, you know, it's something of like a lot of the talk of like Oscars so white, now Oscars so whack, like last year and stuff. That the Academy Awards to me stand for something larger in the film world, and that is that they have to acknowledge a film is a film. Their barrier of entry is to be released for at least 2 weekends in New York and Los Angeles. If a film has met that criteria, it needs to be considered on the exact same level as any other film, no matter what. That's why, you know, last year, Endgame put itself up for nominations. It had a 4-year consideration campaign. Same thing with like Logan, you know what I mean? Like when Logan put itself out for best adapted screenplay, James Mangold and Fox probably didn't think they had any chance of getting nominated, but then it did. Same with Black Panther. I mean, to me, I don't think it really, the film is a Best Picture caliber, but they put it up for Best Picture and it got the nomination. I just think it's not up to the Academy to decide what is worthy of a nomination. You know what I mean? If only 5 movies came out that year, guess what? Those 5 movies should be nominated as your 5 Best Picture movies. That's just that's me.
Yeah, that's I watched. No, I don't think the movie's terrible, but I watched Zootopia win some awards, and I mean, animated movie could like Sonic. I haven't seen it yet, but like I've seen things. I've heard reviews. I've seen reviews, but like if it's as good as people are telling me it is, like
it is.
I don't see why it would be a problem for it to win a Best Animated Feature. Because like if you talk,
well, it's
like
not animated.
Well, but like Best Picture or whatever. Like, if I'm just saying, like, it is an idea. Like hypothetically, like anything could win a category.
Yeah.
Even if like a lot of people just like thought it was like a weird movie, but like it doesn't have many competitors. Like there weren't a lot of competition. There wasn't a lot of competition for a lot of these movies that end up winning. And if you're gonna say, well, like, and I said, like, you hold it that it came out in 2020, so is it a real Oscar-winning movie? Like, do you really consider it? Can you put it on the back of the box when you're selling it? What can you do with it? Is it an Oscar-winning actress in your new lead role of this new movie coming out? Like, but it was in 2020, so there weren't many movies. But like, I've seen movies that have been okay, and
You even have stuff like that though with full years. Like look at things like Crash or even older stuff that people just think, why did that win Best Picture? You know what I mean? Like that has no business being. People say that about the regular winners. So it's like you could be like, oh, Crash won Best Picture. Yeah, but it's Crash. You know what I mean? Like Sonic won Best Picture. Yeah, but it was 2020, and it's like that's fine.
It's always going to be. Even if you win, I think it's just going to be you're going to have an asterisk next to it no matter what.
Look at Parasite. Look at Parasite last year. Well, but it's a foreign film. It's a foreign film. You can't win Best Picture. It's a foreign film.
Yeah.
I don't care. Joker was the best movie of all time. Like that freaking guy that sends me over the edge every time I think about or watch that video. It's like every single winner. So I. That's just to wrap it up on my. If you guys have like a final sentence or whatever you guys want to say, but just to wrap it up on my end, just to wrap it up on my end, I just think that the Academy Awards have a responsibility to honor those films. Now, I kind of got away from the original question. Should the Oscars skip this year? No, never mind. I did not get away from the original question. The Oscars should not skip this year. Should the Oscars have a 2020 ceremony? Maybe not. Maybe you postpone it, but you cannot discredit or discount these films. Mm-hmm. If you say, all right, there's no ceremony this year,
that's different.
Let's push it to a 2021 ceremony. Then you have to say, okay, then the eligibility window is 2 years long. Just for this one time, the eligibility window is 2 years long. Because to me right now, if you're looking at the movies that came out this year, I think Sonic probably should win Best Visual Effects. You know what I mean? I think Sonic should win Best Visual Effects. I think it was better visual effects than Birds of Prey, and those are really the only two contentions. Invisible Man had good effects as well, but that's I think that's where I come down on it, is that you could skip the ceremony, yes, for safety, for viewership. Maybe there's just not enough to throw. Like TJ said, maybe like skipping categories. Then you're like, all right, there's not even enough here to fill the time. You know what I mean? Like, and if that's the issue, that's perfectly fine. Wait another year, but you have to make these films eligible. That's where I stand on it. I didn't want to do a rant today, but the Oscars get me heated.
Thank TJ.
I just think. I did change so I do think there should be like an Oscars of some sort. My just main problem with them being eligible next year would be I just think they'd be buried. You know, like I don't even think they'd have a shot.
Yeah, I think
but that's what I'm saying though, is that if this year was the normal year, these movies would be buried. They would have no shot. But they need to have that no shot next year. They need to, you know what I'm saying? They need to have a shot to have no shot. You can't just say, you can't have, the Oscars cannot say, those movies don't have a shot. You know what I mean? You need to say.
So nothing. I see what you mean.
Yes. Like, it's not the Oscars' place to say, Sonic, you're not Oscar caliber. You know what I mean?
It's like,
if Sonic
like
wants to
you're trying to get into a club and they're like, no, not good enough. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's exactly what I would say, is that the movies need to have a shot to have no shot. You know what I mean? They don't deserve to just be told, well, you wouldn't have had a shot anyways, so we're just not going to let you in. You know what I mean? That would be mine. So that I got more heated on that than I thought it was going to be. I really thought that was going to be a quick segment.
Shooting the shit, you call it.
Yeah, exactly. Shooting the shit. And like we do every week with Shooting the Shit, goes right into the final order for the week and the final order for this week. As always, you can always go ahead and tweet at us using the hashtag or the @PlanetFilmPod, or email us at planetfilmpod@gmail.com. We want to know from you guys, do you think that the Oscars should skip 2020? So should they just skip right over it? Or do you think it's kind of, maybe something in the middle like we talked about, where maybe they skip the ceremony this year, but they open up the eligibility for these movies that came out in 2020 next year? So let us know. We want to know. With that, I think that will do it for this week's episode of the Planet Film podcast. As always, like we said, it's our first with a guest. Let us know also how that went. I think it went pretty well. So with that, as always, my name is Sean Monk.
I'm TJ Cornwell.
I'm Brandon Friedman.
Always remember to live your life 1/4 mile at a time. Take it easy, guys.